What's up YouTube? Today I want to do a quick video on some tips and tricks I've learned over making a few of these signs. Like our main focus will be how to make better spacing, how to make better corners, how to keep curves even. Just simple things that I've learned over making a bunch of these. So hopefully by the end of this, I've taught you something and it helps out. So stay tuned.
Alright guys, first tip is trace your sign out to scale. And then I measured the average spacing in the lines, came out to about 2 inches. And here I am cutting spacers and guides that we're going to use for the rest of the sign. I'm going to start in the top left corner of home plate, and you can see how I use these guides to make my corners square. I use the left side clip as another spacer so I know where to stop the right side. And then I back that left one up and match the walls of the clip together to make a good looking corner. And here I am using a combination of those spacers I cut and clips to make the inside corner of the top left corner of home. Notice how the clip I'm pointing at isn't in its final space. I'm going to move it over once the first one is set. Using a measurement from my tracing, I marked where I'm going to end that top left corner, and then again using a guide and a clip set on that line, I drill and screw in my top clip. Then I use a combination of the spacer and a square to finish off that edge. Next, I move to the bottom left corner of home plate, and it's just a different shape but same process. Since I cut the spacers at the exact same size, I can translate the outside corner to the inside very easily with repeating the same process. Alright, next corner is a little trickier. After I screwed down that edge clip, I started on the upright clip, and using a combination of the spacers we cut and that square, and butting the upright clip wall next to the edge clip wall, we got it straight up and down. Then I used a pen to extend it out. Using those lines I drew, I knew where to stop the next clip, and I'm going to use spacers again to kind of trap that clip in place, and then I line it up with my pen mark and drill and screw it down. Now I could have tried not adding another clip in line here, but I was worried that the neon would bubble out and make it noticeable. So since it was a tight space, I just used my side cutters to trim a clip to fit to length and drill and screw it in place. Next, I just work my way around the sign using all of the same methods we just talked about. Another tip I have for you guys is to use the actual clips as spacers. They're all the same size, so they work great. Here I am, I just put 2 clips between where my final one's going to be and drill and screw it in place. Next up, we're working our way down from this top T shape in the sign. So first I mark center between my clips, and since I know my space is 2 inches, I mark 1 inch each way and line up my spacer. And then I continue to build this corner using the side cutters to trim it in place and work my way around. another simple tip is get you some pliers to help square up clips. It makes turning them really easy. Using a measurement from the left edge of the sign to that clip above my hand, I make a mark on center and draw a line down the sign, and I do the same on the right side of it. These marks help me center up my spacer. With that spacer in place, I go down from edge to edge, corner to corner, and attach all my clips. By now, I think you get the idea of how valuable little spacers and guides can be. And so I'm just finishing up the sign on different corners and edges. On that weird angle, it's more of an eyeball than a spacer thing. And the spacer comes in handy even on curves, just so you know where your turns will be. Alright guys, so if you were thinking ahead, you realize I left all that protective paper on and it had to come off sometime. So I took all my clips off and pulled the paper off and reinstalled all the clips. And I did that because this was the first time I used a shiny black acrylic, and I didn't want to risk scratching it with all the movement you do when you're first placing the clips. And here comes more of the fun part of seeing the sign actually take shape. So I'm just going to fly through putting this neon in. If you guys want a more in-depth video on installing the neon, you should check out my other video where I made a wedding sign for the Hoovers. If I'm smart enough with YouTube, I'll link it here. And then right here, I noticed in the sign how those clips don't line up perfect. But luckily with the aluminum clips, they're forgiving, and so I could bend it, reshape it. Here again, I wasn't happy, so I trimmed that one. And after we check out my sweet automatic drafting table desk, we're going to move on to soldering. So there's plenty of soldering videos out there if you have any questions. But my big tip is to use a big weight to hold down the neon in place while you solder. It'll make things a little easier on you. I'm going to add one sort of miscellaneous wiring tip for you guys. So here I am, this is about 6 feet out of the sign, and I'm going to attach this female plug. And as you can see, I trimmed one longer than the other and then switched colors and did the opposite on either the cable or the plug. And then I just twist them together. And don't forget to put your heat shrink on first. But after they're twisted together, I fold them over themselves, put them in place, and then I wrap it with tape for a little added strength, and then put my heat shrink over top.
Alright guys, so here it is. As you can see, those spacers really help to make your lines, edges clean. And they're super big help on these corners, getting everything to line up. So hopefully some of those tips and tricks helped. You can put them in your toolbox and use them. Alright guys, as always, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, I got a few hats up on my Facebook page. Phase to ground, LED neon, and backlit signs. I got a couple different colors. They're all Richardson 112s or 115s. But yeah, and if you want more tips and tricks, hit me up. I do offer one-on-one coaching. And that would be the best way for me to explain every single detail, every tip and trick, my whole blueprint for how I make these. So if that interests you, hit me up on Facebook. But all right, thanks guys.